Hello everyone. Welcome to my video on the third Edict patch of Path of Exile 2, or namely the 0.3 beta patch. This is my final review and thoughts video before I stop playing for this season. And instead of preparing talking points and document and going through each point one by one, I figured, you know what, we'll pull up the design document that GGG gave us and go through each one of the points that they highlight here and talk about things as they come into my head as more of raw reaction instead of preparing what I think it'll be more fun to do it that way, and it's something I haven't tried before, so you know, why not give it a go. Now the more observant of you among us, the 5 or 10 of you who've been watching through my progress, will have noted that I've only played for around 60 hours this season. And that's not because I didn't enjoy it, quite the contrary, I thought it was an amazing patch. It's more to do with the fact that this patch felt and is more of just like the new interlude acts themselves, it's more of an interlude patch. You could tell that the main focus was to put out all the fires, plug all the holes in the ship, stop a lot of the sinking, and win back a lot of the people that may have lost their faith in the game in the 0.2 patch. And even though I've never really lost faith in this game since its release, despite all its flaws, and you can go back and check my channel, it'll be in the same playlist as this video. I've made tons and tons of videos talking about the problems with this game, what I'd like to see change, what I like about the game. I've not been as the kids say, glazing the game ever since its inception, but I've always seen what it is, which is a very, very good beta test and a game that has a lot of potential and will undoubtedly turn out to be really good at the end of things. I've just always wanted to provide my feedback as well. And the reason for that is I've been gaming for around 43 years now, ever since I was a very, very young kid. And I've been in so many beta tests. I've been in I've taken part in a lot of alpha tests for both online games, offline games, MMOs, action RPGs, live service games, non-live service games, and I've seen it all. I've seen the scams, I've seen the big disappointments, I've seen the games that had a lot of potential but just didn't have that push from the developers, that sparkle from the developers to continue to make it great. This game is one of the very few that I've taken part in terms of a beta test and seen the potential from day one. And I will say I really like the trajectory that they're going on. I like that they're taking their time, and most importantly, I really like that they're not afraid to go back on what they see as core vision design. A lot of people thought certain things would never change about the game. I think they've proven that they're willing to scrap everything and start again if it's not fun. They'll push their vision to the end, and I think it's important that they do have a vision. It's that vision that gives us direction. If you try to make a crowd pleaser game, you end up with a game like Diablo, which is all surface and no depth. So I appreciate what they're trying to do. I like what they're trying to do. So long story short, so far so good. The game's going really well. And the reason why I'm not going to play it any longer is because I really want to save my energy for 0.4, and since I'm not an exclusively Path of Exile 2 creator or a big creator myself, I have the luxury to not wear myself out, essentially. I have the luxury to go away and play some other games and do some other stuff, and then come back to it when I really want to sink a lot of time into it. I've played through 3 characters now. 2 of them in hardcore, I've died to the prince, and both deaths were very unlucky. The first time I died to the prince, well, the first character I lost was to the monkey, to the silverback. I was really frustrated. I got really, really angry with myself. So as soon as I died, I went back in with that character. And it's on camera. It's actually on one of the live streams. I went back and I think I practiced for like 45 minutes, just dodging over and over and over again, just with a weak hammer, just to get all of his telegraphs and everything, just so I wouldn't feel nervous about it, because the silverback was really getting into my head. It was defeating me psychologically before I could get into anything else, and I'm really glad that I feel like I got over it. And I know I got over it because I didn't die to him again. And on top of that, I've also dealt with him, a bullshit version of him, in the Yeti form later on, and in one of the later, I believe, alternate bosses you get towards the end game. I continued playing with a couple of the softcore characters just to make sure that I finish the interludes. And basically, the reason why I wanted to stop playing was the end game is clearly a placeholder, and despite the patch from last week to change a lot of things, you could tell that it's just the basic skeleton framework. It's just the scaffoldings that's there, and it's obvious that they're going to add a lot to it. They're going to change a lot to it. So I didn't really want to commit too much time into this. Plus, there's a lot of games that are coming out pretty soon in the near future that I really want to play, and I think the really big content-rich patch will be the 0.4 patch. So I'll be waiting for that. Not to mention Path of Exile 1 comes out at the end of this month. I'll probably give that a go. Unfortunately, Path of Exile 2 is so good, and it fits what I want to see in an ARPG so well, that Path of Exile 1, it's fun to play for a couple of characters, and then I kind of get bored with it, or get tired with it, and I've sunk thousands and thousands of hours into Path of Exile 1, so I'm pretty full on that meal, and I'm ready to dedicate myself entirely to Path of Exile 2 and its new seasons as they come out, but we will still be trying Path of Exile 1 when it comes out at the end of the month. Before I go into the features, I would like to also talk about what I think is going to happen with 0.4. So, it's bad dating videos, but we're talking about a patch, so we already know the dates. Currently, we're at the beginning of October 2025, and the Path of Exile 1 new season will be dropping at the very end, on the 31st of October. That means that Path of Exile 2 ideally should be coming out in December. Now, GGG like to take breaks in December, as they rightfully should, and their Christmas breaks generally take between about 2 to 3 weeks, and they'll generally be off around the 15th of December or mid-December until the end of the first week of January. Now, I would be very surprised, let's say, that if 0.4 is released in December. I think that what they'll end up doing is saying that, you know, we don't want to release the patch and then go off for 3 weeks and leave you all with all the bugs and the problems and with all the fires burning, because that's what happened last year with the release. And despite the game not being in too bad shape, the 3 weeks that GGG were off on holiday was fairly painful, and I don't think they'll be willing to go through that again. So my prediction is that we won't be getting 0.4 until January. I think we'll probably get around the 10th or the 15th of January. I don't know the dates exactly, obviously, whatever their normal release date of Friday my time, Saturday in New Zealand, whatever dates that corresponds to. I'm pretty sure that it'll come out then, because they're releasing this at the very end of October, the Path of Exile 1 patch. That gives them only about a month before they have to release in the very first few days of December for it to be worth it. They would have to release it right at the beginning, or at the beginning of December, at the very end of November, and then work on it for about 2 weeks, up to about 3 weeks, and then go on holiday. I don't think they have the time to do that, unless the Path of Exile 1 patch comes out and it's fairly satisfactory for people, and it's not too heavy duty as to really bog them down with too much work, so they wouldn't have the time to concentrate on Path of Exile 2. So it kind of does depend on how content and feature rich and in how good of a shape the patch is. If the Path of Exile 1 patch is in really good shape and people are happy, and they can immediately switch to working on Path of Exile 2, and I'm sure they've been working on both the Druid and Act 5 and Act 6, there might be a chance we get 0.4 before the end of the year, but I highly doubt it. So I'm fully prepared psychologically for the game to come out in January, and I'm okay with that, because there's going to be a lot of games to play in the meantime, and I'm excited about those games that I want to play. Some of them old games, some of them upcoming games, but that's a discussion for another video. Now that we've talked about everything, let's actually talk about the third edict. Talk about what was good, what was bad. The story continues with Act 4. I think it's pretty universally accepted that this was a really good act. I enjoyed it very much. I like the freeform. Even though the 2 times I went through it in the exact same way. I like that I could change things up if I wanted to. I like that I have a choice. I like the themes. I liked everything about it. I liked the art direction. I liked the bosses. I mostly liked the bosses. I forgot the name. The final boss we fight when he's enraged and you have to kill him like 3 times. It's a little stressful. When you're playing hardcore SSF, it's a little stressful, but I haven't died to him, to be fair, so it is fine. It did seem more of a couple of the bosses in this patch did seem a little bit more of an endurance race. And but that could possibly do with my build as well. But it was still fun. It was still overall very fun. The themes were good. The only map I didn't like is the one with the water that keeps coming in and slowing you down every now and then. I did not like that map, but thankfully it's just a short period. You don't really have to worry about that too much. It's generally over. And you can do it really fast if you just beeline for it. But overall, everything else about the patch, excellent. Really fun. And I'm pretty sure universally it was very much enjoyed by everyone. Again, it's the same thing. Explore the islands of Nagamakanawi. It was great. I also liked, I think it was Jorgen who talked about it. He's a content creator and he focuses on Delve. He talked about how this is very reminiscent, the thing we're watching in the video, how that area is very reminiscent of Delve, which is also kind of why I don't want to burn myself out too much on Path of Exile 2. I want to put the brakes on it a little bit because I really do think 0.4 is going to have massive changes to both the endgame we know now, and I'm pretty hopeful that they'll add Delve as well. And Delve is something I never really got into in Path of Exile 1, but I'm excited to get into here, especially with the fossil systems. When I started playing Path of Exile 1, Delve was old news and fossils were just one of the many mechanics in the game that was a little too complicated for me to really get into, and I only ever really used the fossils in Path of Exile 1 to give my items like 30% quality. That's pretty much all I used it for, but I know that people who are well versed in fossil crafting can pretty much almost, I don't want to say certainly deterministic, but can pretty deterministically craft what they want. And I'm excited to see what options they'll present if Delve comes in the next patch. But even if it doesn't make it in, the endgame changes for the next patch excite me, and I'm looking forward to it. Challenge new bosses, I already talked about this. Generally, I like the new bosses. That monkey, the prince actually, it wasn't a hard boss, it was just... The first time I died, it was because I didn't know his patterns, and he does the scimitar attack where the scimitars like float around the purple scimitars, and then suddenly he comes back and he charges towards you in 3 hits. The first time he did the scimitar thing, I thought it would be like the Balboa fight from Act 2, and the scimitars would be chasing me, so I was ready for that, and while I was focusing on the scimitars and they disappeared, I was like, what's going on? And before I realized what was going on, I got hit by the prince himself. And the second time, I got hit immediately with a bullshit move that he did, and I've replicated that same hit many times after dying, and it's never killed me again. So it was really unlucky. I think he probably crit, or that particular hit that killed me happened to go through all of my armor rolls or whatever. Anyway, it was traumatic. Don't want to talk about it. And hopefully we will get a new act in the next patch, and so the interludes won't be a thing either. It was still fun. I enjoyed it. The shark boss, by the way, incredibly funny to fight. I had a lot of fun with it. 3 new mini-acts. Overall, much better than the cruel system. It was much more fun to go through it. But, you know, it's never going to substitute the acts, right? So I'm still looking forward. I will say the Act 4 made me really excited to see what's coming up in Act 5 and 6. And not just lore-wise or environment-wise. The new item artworks that came in with this patch, those of you who've played in the previous patches, when we got into the cruel acts, we basically started dropping the same items again. So the pool was just the same weapons you saw since the start of the game, just with higher tiers. And the sprites were the same, the graphics were the same, the animations were the same. So when everything is a little too samey, it also adds to the fatigue involved with the game. With the Act 4 being in the game, we got a little more different artwork, item art in the game, and it was a very welcome change. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to see what they add with Act 5, all the new weapon art and so on and so forth. And of course Act 6 after that, but I don't think we'll get Act 6 before 1.0. We'll see though. But interludes, great substitute for cruel acts. But I'm also glad we'll probably never have to do them again, thankfully. Alright, Rise of Abyssal League. Wow, what a league. I had a lot of fun with it, even though it was extremely rippy at first. I remember one of the first patches they did was they stopped all of the monsters having all of the power that the Abyss League offered, and they nerfed some of the abilities that would be used against you, at least for the first 3 acts, I think, and they started getting strong, like, endgame strength towards the end of Act 4, which probably would have been better pacing to begin with, but it was the first time in a very long time that I actually actively wanted to engage in a league mechanic in this game. I think the last time that it was this fun to engage in a league mechanic was probably... what's the Path of Exile 1 league where we went after the Wisps? Affliction, which was, I think, in December 2023. That was really engaging. I really enjoyed it. Even though that one was overtuned as well when it first came out, it was still very fun. I really looked forward to engaging in all of the Wisp action at the start of that league, and this felt very similar. I'll be talking about this. Sealing the Abyss, the rewards that you got, the Abyssal Troves felt good. They felt impactful. The currency issue was mostly solved by the 3rd or 4th patch of 0.2, but people had stopped playing it by then, so they didn't really experience it. I was still playing, so I got a little taste of the buffed currency drops before this patch, and even after that, this made it feel so much better. It was exciting clicking on a trove every single time. I was actually looking forward to, like, you'll see it in my replays. If it wasn't too out of my way, I would always try and find the Abyss. I'd be like, oh man, we've got to find the Abyss, we've got to seal it, let's see what's in the trove. Hope, and if it's a yellow trove, oh my god, and if it's an Abyssal Coffer, oh, it felt good. It felt good to click on. It was very exciting, so good job with that. I hope the leagues that they release follow a similar pattern where they're exciting to engage with. I'm really looking forward to what else they cook up. This whole system, the bone system, the jaw system, incredible. I was complaining about the crafting for ever since the release of Path of Exile 2, just like everyone else. And my idea was always give us more currencies that add more affixes for every use. Kind of like the Orb of Alchemy. You know how the Orb of Alchemy gives you 4 affixes for 1 use? Everything else being only 1 use per, only 1 affix per use. It felt very slow, and when you messed up, like if you messed up on the 3rd step, it just felt bad having to go through the first few steps again. These items being basically deterministic exalted orbs, fantastic, incredibly fun to play with. The essences, the change to the essences, one of the biggest bottlenecks were regal orbs. Having the essences be a regal orb in themselves, incredible. I still think for the campaign, we don't get enough essences to craft in the campaign, but then again, I play hardcore SSF, so the game isn't really balanced for me. It's balanced for trade. But, you know, if you could show a little bit of love for essence drops in the campaign, it would be very much appreciated. I know nobody from GGG is ever going to see this, but in case they do, please. But other than that, yeah, basically, the bones, always fun. It was always fun going to the well and clicking. Even the annoying animation, like, I thought it would get annoying, but it was fine. It was exciting to see him come back with my item and just take a look at it after making my choice and being like, oh man, that looks really good. There were a lot of those moments that really that really hit my dopamine receptors and really made me feel things in the game that I haven't felt in a very long time. So I appreciate that very much. New bosses on a pinnacle, never got this far. I'm sure I'll get to it in the future. I'm sure I'll try it in the future. Like I said, I don't want to burn myself out too much. And I'm an old man. There's only so much I can... There's only so many times I can go through the campaign with minimum changes to the campaign. After playing through Act 4 a couple of times, I got the picture. I really enjoyed it. Looking forward to playing through it again in the future. Sprint, huge W. They made it better after the initial patch, which made it so that we can roll out of it a lot cleaner. I think my main issue with Sprint when it first came out wasn't that I was accidentally sprinting. That was fine. It only happened a couple of times. My main issue was when you were sprinting at full speed, getting out of the sprint was difficult without stopping, and the stop took so much inertia and momentum that it was annoying planning on where to stop. But they changed that. They made it so you can roll out of the sprint or jump out of the sprint, and it helped a lot. So W for the sprint. Big W's, as the kids say. I thought it was a great addition. It definitely helped the backtracking parts of the campaign as well. Love that. New support gem system. I love the tiering. Previously, you would get your first support gems in Act 1, and then nothing would matter until you got your second tier support gems in the middle of Act 3, start to the middle of Act 3. And then you would get your third tier gems like way in the cruel Act. I think it was around 5 or 6. And it just felt bad. This one allows the progression to feel more natural. It felt a lot smoother. I still think it can be tweaked. You could possibly even add one more tier to the supports. Maybe you could do it with 6. I think there is room for that, because while the gaps felt a lot better, there was still a little bit of dead space in between. But overall, great stuff. I really liked the new supports as well. Being able to use more than one support opened up so many possibilities. I'm really excited to try a bleed bow. I was going to actually make a new character and play bleed bow this time round, but I want to wait for the gladiator to come out, because clearly they're waiting for either the axe or the sword for more bleed synergies. There aren't a lot of bleed supports, and the most power you can get for bleed is on the skill tree, and the skill tree needs a lot of work. I'll get to that in my criticisms part. So I'm waiting. I'm going to delay the bleed bow until we get more bleed supports and more bleed synergies, and we have a better idea about what to do in the future. But yeah, long story short, support gem system, excellent. Major balance changes and new skills. People really hate the balance changes, I will say, initially, and then everyone warmed up to it. I hope that this was a lesson for everyone to not overreact to patch notes that come out a week before release, because you never know the full story. People were writing off Warrior straight from the get-go. Warrior was fine. People were like, oh, nothing but Deadeye is going to be good. And it didn't turn out to be that way. I think initially, yes, everyone was playing Deadeye, but I don't think a lot of people who played Warrior were that unimpressed with it. I certainly had a lot of fun. And the times I died, it wasn't because Warrior was weak. It was because HP was weak. But again, we'll get to the criticism section at the very end of this. But I thought balance was fine. And it was just putting out the fires that we have. The balance is going to be so skewed so many times. It's going to be broken so many times. We're still missing half the weapons. We're still missing so many classes. We're still missing so many ascensions. It's going to be a mess. So, like, buckle up. Balance is going to be an issue for a long time. I don't foresee balance ever being solved, and it shouldn't be solved in a game like this. There should always be... It's like Magic the Gathering, right? You kind of need the bad cards for the good cards and the good combos to stand out. And it's the same. You can't make every skill very powerful, otherwise you get a situation like in Last Epoch, which is fine if that's what you're going for. But at a base level, sure, all the skills should get you through the campaign, but I do agree with the philosophy that some builds and some skills in certain combinations should be a lot better than others. Now, speaking of combos, again, I'll get to that in the criticism section. I still think combos are a little undertuned. They need... If you're putting in the time to build up your charges... Well, what the hell, I'll talk about it now. if you're putting in all of the effort to build your charges, to make your combo more effective and more powerful when you release it, you really need to feel that power. I think that's something they still need to adjust, but I like that they're not shy about letting us go play the game with only like 2 or 3 skills. I like that I don't have to go for combos to win, and I didn't, unless you consider, you know, heavy stunning an enemy and then dropping a Hammer of the Gods on his head, unless you consider that to be a combo. I didn't really engage in any combos, and it was fun. It was fine. Honestly, it was all good. While I'm criticizing the game as an interlude, I will get into it. The worst part of the game for me that remains a lot, the crafting was the worst part previously. Now it's the skill tree. Crafting's been fixed mostly, and it's going to get better, it's obvious. The skill tree is obviously also going to get better, right? It's not going to stay like this. You can tell, especially if you take a look at the strength inside. There are so many placeholder nodes. You can tell that there are huge gaps. You can tell that where the swords skills are going to come in, you can tell that a lot of those are placeholders as well. You can tell that there's placeholders for daggers and traps and whatnot. So I know the skill tree is going to get better, but for now it's the weakest part of the game. And again, in case anyone from GGG does see this, this isn't a unique bit of criticism, but the downsides on the skill tree, particularly for the warrior side, not great. You guys need to fix that. Either get rid of the downsides or give us more attack. Taking away attack speed from a warrior is really strange. Now, I know that it's more of a thing where you probably put that in the game as, you know, let's see how we deal with this. Let's just test it. Let's just put it there. And then there were so many other things that you had to deal with. I'm speaking to GGG directly. And then there were so many things that you had to deal with that you kind of never got around to it, even when you were redesigning armor and whatnot. By the way, armor redesign, pretty good. Still could be better though, but pretty good. I think if you buffed HP, which is another major criticism, which I guess goes hand in hand with this warrior side of the skill tree being weak. We need HP. Like, I understand not wanting to get HP nodes, but we need something to boost HP. It's ridiculous that it's really difficult to get any HP. And with regards to armor, there's no... Okay, you've given us ability to defend ourselves with armor against elemental damage, which is good. But chaos still hurts a lot. And generally the accepted trade-off with armor always was, well, you know, you're going to be weak against dots and whatnot. And the only way you can really fight against dots is with regen, which exists in this game. But you still had ways to, with Fortify or whatever, like Chaos didn't hit that bad. And especially in Path of Exile 2, where it's harder to gear up at the moment and get your Chaos res up to full in the campaign. And especially when your League mechanic deals exclusively Chaos damage, it was a nightmare to get through, I'll tell you that much. So... please, first chance you get, take a look at the skill tree. The downsides, it's fine on some keystones and maybe a couple of notables, but there's so many downsides on the warrior side of the tree, and you're having to path away from... you have to path towards the mercenary side and grab that wheel in between warrior and mercenary with the attack speed, and it's just... it takes you ages to get there. And then it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 nodes that you pick. Yes, attack speed goes up a little bit each time, but it's pretty much mandatory. And, well, you got rid of the HP nodes because you felt that it was mandatory for everyone to spec to those. But now, on the warrior side, you're making it mandatory for us to go for the skill speed and attack speed nodes. So, you know, I know you can balance it out. Please do. I think it would help immensely. And if we had more solutions to the HP problem, it would also help the armor situation a lot more. But I know you'll get around to it, especially when you're adding your strength int characters, when you're going to be adding armor and energy shield hybrids. I have a feeling it's going to be very, very overtuned. So good luck dealing with that. I'm not that excited for Druid, by the way. I am excited for the Templar, though. And the dream would be if we got more than one class in the next patch, but I don't think that's going to happen. But anyway, that's enough about the next patch. Crafting updates, already talked about this. These new currencies were also good. Because I only played the campaign mostly, I only dealt with the level 2 ones. And it felt great. On top of all the jawbones and the omens and whatnot, felt really good. New items, new artwork helped a lot. I really enjoyed that. Looking forward to even more new artworks. I'm excited. New in-game maps, I'm sure they were great. New in-game encounters, I'm sure all this was great, but I'm also sure that all this will be changing. So we'll see. We'll see how that is. New rewards, linear support gems, lineage support gems. More of this kind of stuff, more chase items, but I know they know that, and they'll probably add more stuff as the game continues, but all of this is a step in the right direction. And I don't play trade, but I know that people really loved this system. Now, I played Ultima Online back in the day. In fact, it was one of the first beta tests that I attended that was very promising. That's how old I am. I'm talking about 1997. And I'm talking about trying to play an MMORPG on a 33.6 band modem on dial-up. That's how difficult it was. We had to wait for the CD to come in. Anyway, that's a whole different story. But in Ultima Online, we had this system where we could have our own house, and then we'd set up our own NPC vendors. And then you would stock the vendors, and then you would stock gold into the vendor so that it would stay active in your shop and keep selling your items. And it was one of the most fun parts of the game, just opening a shop in your house and logging in every day and seeing if people bought anything. From what I understand, this is exactly that system. And if I ever do get around to playing trade again, which I'm sure I will after release, hardcore SSF is a lot of fun. It's my preferred style of play, but just to try this vendor system out later on, I'll be returning to it at one point. But huge win here. This was a big move, and this is also one of the things I was talking about, where people didn't believe that they would ever do it, but they did it. And this is why I trust them to basically build on the game. This is it. We're all done. So all in all, great patch. Looking forward to 0.4. Just don't want to burn myself out. There are other games I want to play. I want to get back into, well, playing Menace. The demo for Menace made me really miss playing Battle Brothers, so I'm going to be playing Battle Brothers for a bit. And then we've got a bunch of games that are releasing pretty soon that I'm interested in, such as like even Football Manager. Looking forward to that. Path of Exile 1, we'll be playing that for a bit. And then we'll see if, we'll see what the situation with Path of Exile 2 0.4 is, but again, I don't expect that until January. There was a few more games that come out in November that I'm excited about that I've forgotten right now. But the calendar's good. Life's good for gamers. The indie game scene is exciting. The AA game scene is exciting. And Path of Exile 2, very exciting. And I can't wait to play the next chapter. I can't wait to try out the new act. And overall, great stuff. There was one more criticism that I was going to talk about. I talked about the skill tree. I talked about life. There was something else that I wanted to criticize, but I've already forgotten what it was. But it wasn't that important in the first place. It doesn't matter. Thanks for watching, though. I appreciate you all. I appreciate the 50 or so of you who've actually bothered watching my playthrough videos. They'll always be there. It'll be fun going back in the future and seeing the state of the game as it was now. I'm kind of excited to see that in a couple of years. And thank you for everyone who's messaged in support, who's left feedback. I really appreciate it. It's a new channel. I'm only just learning how to do this. You guys have helped me get better at this, and I hope to get even better. So please, this isn't engagement baiting. Any feedback you have, I genuinely need to hear it. So let me know, please. Tell me what you think. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care.